you would recommend to parents for getting testing? Is there, do you go by like diagnosis type or what you're seeing, or by age, or what would gauge where would I go to get testing for my child?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll kind of start with the age part. If you have a child that's young, we'll start there because it's a little easier. If you have a child that's young and really struggling, if they truly have a disability, those learning gaps are going to continue to grow as they get older and older, if there's truly disability. Because if you think about it, special education is an individualized education, and I don't think you get much more individualized than homeschooling. So if you are doing lots of different ways of helping your child and they're still not getting it, that might be a sign that there's a disability there, and maybe you would want to pursue it at that point. And I've had some parents that are wary of getting testing because they're afraid of the state or the government coming after them for homeschooling their child. They don't have time to worry about that. It's truly something that could be for your benefit. Number one, it helps them. It shows you specifically where their learning gaps are, so you know what to target without trying to just be experimenting with things. It really tells you and hones in on here's where they're really struggling. And then it also really helps to plan and kind of figure out where you're going to go from there, instead of just floundering like, well, this one didn't work and that one didn't work. It really helps with your planning and brings a lot less frustration there. So a lot of parents who say, well, I just want to wait. Sometimes that's okay to wait to see how things go and you kind of get to know a little bit more, but sometimes it helps you along in the process. Now, when they get to the high school level, if you truly think your child has a disability or they're really struggling still, I would highly suggest you get them tested. And here's why. So if they are still struggling with a certain area in high school, that usually means it is a disability at that point. Yeah. And if you're pursuing testing, it could mean that they need help on SATs. It means they may need help in their college classes. It may need help when they are in their job. And I have an example. I have a friend, and she was diagnosed with a learning disability, reading disability, and she had extra time and reading aloud accommodations on her SAT. She had extra time and reading on her tests in college. And then when she got her job in business marketing, she was able to get a program that the company paid for to read all of the work on her computer that she needed to have read to her. And she went on to get her MBA. And while she was doing that, she needed help on the GMAT test for accommodations as a 28-year-old. So she got accommodations. So I helped her get accommodations for the test. And in her MBA classes, her master level classes through an elite college, she is getting accommodations as well, extra time on her test. So even when you go into all of these upper level educational things, if they truly have a disability, it's going to keep affecting them in those ways in various areas. And you don't know what they're going to be. Maybe it's not going to be that much and they don't need as many services, but at least you prepared them in case they did. So,
and I suppose your friend, with all of the previous documentation for each step, made it probably easier for her to get accommodations the next time.
Yes. So, and a lot of times too, so College Board and most colleges usually require about, usually the safe bet is 3 years current testing of their last diagnosis of when they were last tested. Some are up to 5 years, but I would say 3 years is a safe bet. And then a lot of times, so once you're accepted into a college with those 3 years, that will usually, because the college accepted you, if you go on your MBA later, that usually, well, your college accepted it back then. So that even though it's not 3 years at that point, your MBA will probably accept it because the college did. So sometimes they tag along with each other that way.
I heard in the past that, once you hit a certain age, they consider a disability permanent on your record, so that you have to be retested as an adult. They figure, well, as an adult, you've kind of, you haven't, you're not growing anymore, so you should probably have that disability for a lifelong.
Yeah, exactly. And usually the disabilities that are more like visual impairment or hearing impairment are more of like physical and more IQ in nature. A lot of times those tend to be more not really questioned. Obviously, you have a visual impairment, you have a visual impairment. It's usually the ambiguous ones like reading disability or writing or math. Sometimes those can be a little bit more ambiguous than the other ones. So.